What's up, everyone? I'm Tyler, and you're watching Forever Young Sports, where I talk about different sports topics that I find interesting, and hopefully you do too. And today we have a good one. We're going to be talking about the career paths of players who have at some point in their NFL careers ran for at least 1,000 yards in a single season. Now, you may be wondering why this would be an interesting topic at all. And here's why I think it's super interesting. Number one, the NFL is known for having short careers. It's known as the not-for-long league. But we are talking about some of the best players at their position. If they were able to reach at least 1,000 yards at some point in their career, they've clearly got a lot of talent. But again, we are talking about the not-for-long league, and a position that is known to lack longevity. A position that takes so many hits every single game, so many hits every single season, and they pile up, no doubt. So the running backs that I took for this sample are those who have entered the league since the year 2000. So 2000 until present day. And I made this graph that shows the average yards per season, seasons 1 through 16, because 16 was the longest career that any of those running backs had. And it is an average based off of 114 every single year, even if there weren't 114 different running backs that played that long. So basically, it's a little bit biased to dropping off. But what you can clearly see is that honestly, up until year 6, running backs are quite productive. And after year 6, there is a huge drop-off. And why does that matter so much? Well, basically it tells you that even at the highest of levels of running backs, these players who are able to reach 1,000 yards at some point, there's a big drop-off pretty early on. This is often late 20s to early 30s where there's a significant and clear drop-off. We'll talk about what that looks like in terms of players that make it that long in a little bit. But for now, let's switch over to this other graph that shows a similar trend, but it looks a bit different. So this graph is very similar in that it shows the average yards per season, but it's adjusted for however many players made it that far. And you might think that it looks pretty similar, where it seems to start dropping off pretty drastically after year 6. And you'd be right, because it clearly does. But then there's a huge spike at year 13 at 930. So why in the world would there be such a big spike at 930 at year 13? I thought these running backs were not productive anymore. Well, you see, that's because at year 13, there are only 2 players left. And those 2 players are Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson. All-time greats, especially if you're talking about longevity at the running back position. So this next graph is very similar to the first couple graphs, but it just shows the number of these 114 running backs that were able to reach 1,000 yards at this point of their career. So at year 1, there's 36, year 2, 52, year 3, 49, year 4, 36, year 5, 34, 31, 20, 15, 7, 2, 0, 2, and then 0 the rest of the way. And from all of the data, we're able to see pretty clearly that these players typically top out around year 2 or year 3. And then there's a major decrease once they hit about year 6. And honestly, that's similar to the trend that we see when we look at the percentage of players that are still in the league this far into their career. The first few years, they're almost all still in the league. By year 6, though, it's down to almost 3/4 of the data group. By year 8, it's just over half of the running backs that remain. Year 9, it's cut to 1/3. By year 10, it's less than 20% of the original running backs that have made it this far. And this isn't still being productive players. This is just playing in games during that season. This really shows how drastic the drop-off of even something as simple as being in the league can be. It is so drastic and so fast. And that's what makes this next part so very interesting. Actually, scratch that for a second. Real quick, I want to throw it back and we're going to talk about Dominic Williams, who was previously known as Dominic Davis. In 2003, he was coming off of a good career at LSU, getting drafted in the 4th round. And as a rookie for the Houston Texans, he put up 1,031 yards. 2004, his next year, 1,188. And 2005, his third year, 976. So 3 years into the league, he's averaging more than 1,000 yards per season. But what about 2006 and beyond? Well, there was no 2006 and beyond because this very, very talented running back got injured and never played another regular season game in the NFL. Super, super sad, but it shows that even if you're super productive and doing quite well, like Dominic clearly was, you can be out of the league so very fast. But this next part shows why that matters so much. We can look at the cap hit of the number 1 player and number 32 players, which I have shown in this graph, and you can clearly see that the quarterback position absolutely dominates this. Of course, very well paid. Offensive line and wide receiver are a bit shorter, but still very lucrative positions. The tight end position is even clearly more lucrative in monetary value than the running back position. So what I'm telling you is not only do running backs have these nice short careers that can be ended in just a split second, but also they struggle to make money more than any other position on the offensive side of the ball. That's tough. One final reason that so many people struggle to see the value of the running back is because you can find great running backs late in the draft or undrafted as a whole. Of course, you have your Saquon Barkleys and Reggie Bushes that go number 2 in the draft. But you also have James Robinson and Phillip Lindsay who fall all the way being picked up as undrafted free agents. If they can be 1,000-yard backs as undrafted free agents, why waste a draft pick? Especially an early draft pick that guarantees more money than all the later ones. Basically, the running back position is in a really, really tough spot. But shout out to Saquon Barkley, shout out to Derrick Henry for really trying to revive the running back position and show the value that it so clearly still has. Let me know in the comments below who your favorite running back has been in the past 25 years and who you think might lead the league in rushing this year. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Love you all. Have a great day. Bye.